has anything to do with anything.
Right. Well, because it's a fallacy to quote people that disagrees with you and you disagree with, especially when you're appealing to authority.
It's a fallacy to quote people who disagree with you.
Yeah, when you're appealing to when you are appealing to authority.
We're not appealing to authority, though.
Yes, you're appealing to the authorities of these writers against the position. So you are appealing to the authority.
Okay, here I think is where we're talking past each other a little bit. Yes, we are appealing to authority, but we're appealing to your authority.
You can appeal to my authority.
What? But that literally makes no sense.
Because why can you appeal to my authority?
Why can I appeal to your? Because we have the quotes from them.
And
the idea is,
and then you interpret those quotes in your mind, right?
Well, the idea of the debate would be you have to give some sort of a counter interpretation or something.
I don't know. Why would I do that? Because it is my position.
Because if the collective voice of the early fathers is iconoclasm, and that's obvious in the historical record, and then later on at Second Nicaea they say, wait, never mind, we're going the other way.
Yeah, so that's still not an issue because, again, the Arian example in the 4th century, then by your logic, the entire church is Arian.
No, by my logic, the system breaks down.
What system breaks down?
The system of preserving holy tradition.
Then your church breaks down too.
No, it doesn't, because that's not our system.
What is your system?
Well, that's a longer conversation. But our system
exactly. So you're not going to defend your position, but you want to challenge my position.
I was literally going into it.
Well, you just said it's a longer conversation.
I said it's a longer conversation, and then you interrupted me.
Yeah, but again, my system is not built on consensus.
Well, it is though.
Well, again, then why is the church not Arian by your argument?
Well, this is different though because
how is this different?
Because that's introduced later. Like we're talking about something that is taught from the beginning.
Okay, and then according to whose interpretation?
Well, it doesn't matter because we're like the idea is that
interpretation doesn't matter.
No, the idea is that we go to your authority.
No, you can't go to my authority.
This is
no. Wait. You don't go to my authority.
Make any sort of sense, though.
Because you can't go to somebody else's authority that would condemn you.
Is there like a scholarly source you can cite for me on this, or you just
do you not understand that you can't go to some authority that disagrees with you and that would condemn you and appeal to that authority as it agrees with you?
That's not how logic works.
What are you talking? So you think you can go to someone else's authority that disagrees with you and interpret their authority as agreeing with you?
We're not saying it agrees with us. We're saying
if it doesn't agree with, why are you using it?
Because it disagrees with you. This is your authority.
No, it's my authority. It does not agree with me. It does agree with me. Or else it wouldn't be my authority.
That's your burden is to.
That's not my burden. You are the latter claim. No, you are the latter.
Our burden is to show that this is.
No, your burden is to prove your position because your position is to claim that we are corrupted.
Right, that's what we're doing.
And then you have to explain to me why do you have the right to claim that?
Again, what you're saying literally makes no sense.
Oh, so anybody can claim anything. How do you know? Wait a minute. How do you know the church is corrupted? I'm interested. Tell me.
The idea is that orthodoxy stands or falls on the claim that they've preserved the original deposit of faith, the holy tradition, has been passed down in an unbroken line, right, orally from Jesus to the apostles.
How do you challenge orally?
What do you mean?
If it's oral, then why are you challenging oral with text?
Well.
Oh my
because
God.
that's obviously we can't go talk to the pre-Nicene fathers.
No, okay, but our system.
So you're saying?
No, wait a minute. Then that's not our system. Our system is that the oral traditions passes on to today.
And so, just all texts are irrelevant then?
No, we believe in both.
No. Okay, well, exactly.
But there's still levels of authority. You appealing to a few saints that you believe taught against the Orthodox Church is not going to do you any good.
Well, it might not, but that's the whole point of the debate is to see.
Well, why would you wait? Why would you try to prove something that's not a problem for the other position?
Well, because in our view, it is a problem.
Well, your view is irrelevant to the other side's view.
Well, let's say there's an atheist who's either going to convert to the LDS Church or the Orthodox Church, and icon veneration is concerning them. So, for example, I have a friend who's a patristic scholar who almost joined Eastern Orthodox Church, but then didn't over the issue of icon veneration. So, the whole point of you debating this would be for people like that in the future. They can see this debate and go, okay, I'm fine joining the Orthodox Church.
Right, and I'm already proving to you the position that you quoting a few saints that you believe is supporting your position against our position is not an issue. Even I'm even granting to you that these people are iconoclast. That's still not an issue. Do you understand that?
No, how that?
Because our church is not built on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 saints.
Right.
So do you understand that?
I do. But
so it's not an issue for us.
The problem would be if we have an ecumenical council tomorrow, which dogmatizes something contrary to like, I don't know, what's like one topic that hasn't been dogmatized?
Well, I mean, so what's the point? Hold on, my speaker broke. Give me a second. Say it again.
Yeah. My point is that if you have an ecumenical council come together and dogmatize and anathematize things that are literally opposite to what was previously taught, then that disproves the Orthodox system.
Okay, so prove it to me from the council then.
Which
council was iconoclast? Which ecumenical council?
The 7th.
Which ecumenical council is iconoclast?
Oh, well, no, the idea though is that if the consensus patrum later gets anathematized, then that would break.
Which has not happened. Which has not happened.
But it did though with iconoclasm.
No, it did not.
Why don't you?
Then it wasn't an ecumenical council.
So wait,
you understand you understand a council is not immediately ecumenical.
Well, whether or not that's
and
true,
it's received through time. There are many councils that were false councils that were not ecumenical councils. So, but that still has nothing to do with your point regarding the early saints that you believe are iconoclast and taught LDS doctrine.
Well, this isn't LDS. This is just scholarly consensus.
No, well, consensus is a fallacy. I can give you scholarly consensus of.
Well, sure, it's a fallacy.
Wait, I can also give you consensus of scholars that agree with us. That's why it's a fallacy.
You couldn't give a consensus against the consensus. That would violate the rule of.
Well, yeah, your consensus is false.
Okay.
Do you see the error of your logic?
Do you see the error of your look? Let's say we take all the patristic scholars right now. 75% say iconoclasm was the unanimous voice of the early pre-Nicene fathers. You couldn't then claim that the consensus is the opposite.
Yeah, but does the church work on consensus?
Well, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just.
Then why are you trying to prove consensus?
I'm not trying to prove consensus.
You just said consensus matters, and I'm asking you: does consensus matter in how the Orthodox Church function? The answer is no.
This isn't. You keep going to things that don't really.
Well, you just said consensus, right? You appealed to consensus. I'm telling you that's not how the church works. Again, if that's how the church worked, it would have been area. My point is that you don't actually know what the opposite position operates on, and you're picking a point that's completely irrelevant.
Why is...
Yeah, well, why are you laughing?
Because you make no sense.
You don't even... Wait, I'm making no sense when you have no clue how the Orthodox Church work, and you think consensus is the key to debunk the Orthodox Church.
Well, not entirely, but more or less.
No, that's not how it works.
If the consensus of the fathers
which is
is
a no. Well,
contrary to the
even
Bible.
if I grant you that,
Yeah.
that's not how the faith works. Do you understand that?
Okay, then how does what? Give me an example of a thing
So
that
you don't
would
know.
make this system.
No, hold
I
on.
do. I
You
read about orthodoxy all day. Like I'm very familiar with how orthodoxy works.
wait. You just said you're familiar with how orthodoxy works.
Yes.
Then you just said, and then you appeal to consensus, which is not how orthodoxy works.
Why not? How does it work then?
Did you not hear the example I gave you about the Arians?
But I don't even know what you're talking about though.
Oh, exactly. So why are you debating? Why do you think you guys can debate this topic when you have no clue what the other side is talking about?
That has nothing to do with what I just said.
That has everything to do with what you just said. Because you're trying to debate a topic, you're trying to do a gotcha based on whatever evidence you gather that you believe will deflock the other position. And I'm telling you, that's not how the other position functions. And then you told me that you first told me you don't know. Now you're telling me that you know. So do you know or do you don't know?
Again, you keep reading into everything I'm saying.
I didn't read anything. What did I read
Yes, you
into?
did.
Because you said consensus,
you brought up,
right?
no. You brought up Arianism, the Arian thing, and I said I don't even know what you're talking about. And then you take that to mean a specific thing.
No, that's not what happened.
No.
You appeal to consensus. And then I'm demonstrating to you consensus is not how the church works. Because if that's the case, then the entire church would have been Arian.
So you're saying the church was Arian from the beginning?
No, the church was not Arian in the beginning. The church would have turned Arian.
That's what I was saying, though, is that...
That's a fallacy. That's a fallacy. That's a historicist fallacy.
What is?
Appealing to time frame. That has nothing to do with time frame. I'm demonstrating to you. Has nothing to do with time frame. I'm demonstrating to you. You don't know how the church makes decisions.
Okay, well, give me an example of something that would make the Orthodox system collapse.
What? Okay, so you don't actually know the topic, and you want to debate. That's my point. That's why I wanted to talk to you two to make sure you know what the heck you're talking about. And apparently you don't.
No, but we're not trying to prove that the Orthodox system collapses. That's what.
Wait, you just said you wanted someone to prove that the Orthodox system collapsed.
I just said what?
You literally just asked me for a system or something that can prove the Orthodox system collapsed. Right. You just said you're not, and then now you said you don't. Make up your mind.
You keep reading into everything I'm saying. I asked you that because you're claiming...
I'm not reading into stuff you're saying. You appeal to consensus. You appeal to it.
That has nothing... You don't even know what you're saying.
I don't know what I'm saying. When you appeal to consensus.
And that's what I mean by you're reading into what I'm saying.
Okay, then so explain to me. I'm going to let you explain to me. Why are you going to consensus?
My understanding of how orthodoxy works is that orthodoxy is intended to perfectly preserve holy tradition, apostolic tradition, the deposit of faith, as they say in the West. And that, obviously you have different levels of, not as specifically as you do in Roman Catholicism, but you have different levels of dogma, or how certain you can be in types of things, right? And so obviously if you have an ecumenical council saying something, that carries far more weight, that's dogmatic, rather than if you just have a few fathers saying things, right? And obviously my claim isn't that one father saying something disproves the whole church, right? Because then you could just go to Gregory of Nyssa teaching universal. Yeah,
your point is that majority father taught against the Orthodox Church, right? Sure. I'm still manning your position correctly, right?
Yeah. So from my understanding, it would pose a problem to the Orthodox.
And why would it pose a problem?
Because the idea of orthodoxy is to preserve the deposit of faith as it was originally handed down to the apostles.
Mm-hmm. And how do you know? How do you know those teachings that you so agree with are the teachings that we're supposed to preserve?
What teachings do I agree with?
You agree with you are iconoclast, right?
Well, that has nothing to do with the debate.
Well, do you agree with that?
Do I agree with iconoclasm?
Yeah.
I don't personally have a stance on it.
So why are
Again,
why are you debating a topic that you have no clue about?
I'm not. First of all, I'm not debating.
Okay, so you're not debating. So, but your point is completely fallacious because it makes no sense.
Why?
That's not
So explain
because
to me the reason.
consensus is
Yeah.
not how the church works.
Okay. Well, then that's why I asked you earlier.
That's
Give
why
me,
I don't
explain to
need
me how the
so
church
you
works.
don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I hope I do because I've read a lot of books on orthodoxy.
Right.
And that's why I would like for you to explain to me how it works.
It
What's
works by the decision of councils received through time. It's not that, oh, all these fathers said this, dang, we're doing that. That's not how councils work.
You're right, but then wouldn't you see the problem though with hypothetically, if an ecumenical council gets called tomorrow
You're getting cut off.
and then they dogmatize something that goes contrary?
Yeah, the
to everything
idea
that's
in
taught?
our system is that cannot happen.
Right, and that's our claim though, is that it did happen.
It did not happen because you're quoting councils that are not ecumenical.
We're not quoting councils. We're quoting.
Oh, so you're not even quoting councils. And why
Well,
are
no,
you why are you using councils as an example?
What?
You just appealed to councils being
Because
fallible. And you said you're not quoting Campbell. You're not quoting councils.
no,
What?
we would quote Nicaea too. But
Oh,
there's no like earlier. We're not going to.
okay, yeah, but
two
so
councils.
you have to quote council against council. You can't quote
No, we
council
wouldn't,
against
though.
early church fathers.
Well, we wouldn't though, because by your admission, you said that it's impossible for a council to dogmatize something that was like contrary to what was previously taught, right?
In the councils.
In the council. Well, well, now your position is just unfalsifiable, and that's just stupid.
Well, it is the position, and your position is unfalsifiable too.
No, it's not.
Yeah, really?
Yes, I can literally give you an example of something that would make your LDS
So you have a position that's okay. So that's not unfalsifiable because if that part is falsifiable, then we don't have a position. That's the whole point, is what we believe. So you have to challenge the position.
Well, then there would be no point in you ever debating anything if these are your presuppositions.
Because it's my organization. I don't need to justify to you, someone who's outside of the church.
But you would, though, because, well, I mean, I guess you would. I can't tell you what you should do, right? But it seems to me a good idea for a believer.
I mean, no, it's what the church teaches, but yeah. I'm not obligated to defend it against heretics like you guys. I mean, do you understand my point of talking to you tonight? Is that you don't actually understand how the church works. You guys got a bunch of quote minds from. I know. By the way, I'm telling you, I know all his quote minds. I know all the quote minds. It's been used by Matt Slick. It's been used by a bunch of people. It's not new. It's nothing new, dude. I know all the quote minds.
Sure. Then why won't you debate against it?
Because it's pointless. Because we're just gonna talk past each other, like we're already doing when we haven't even had the premise set. You're going to interpret those quotes in a certain way and apply it to the church in a way that you think would falsify our position, but in reality, that's not how our position works. And I'm going to defend this position like I'm wasting my time. That's exactly what's already happening when we're setting the premise. I don't want to hop on a debate with you where we just talk past each other.
But you're like I said though, you're reading so much into everything.
I'm not. Let me steelman your position. Let me steelman your position. Can I steelman your position?
Sure.
Okay, your position is that you and Noah, through your quote mining, found a bunch of church fathers.
You're using ad hominem in your.
How is that ad hominem?
You said quote mining.
How's quote mining not? I mean, I quote mine too. So how's that ad hom?
Well, it just usually is a pejorative term.
Oh, so it's your feelings.
It's not feelings. Like I said, it's usually a pejorative term.
No.
It's a connotation.
Okay, so let me be nice to you. Let me be nice to you. Okay, I'm not going to use that. I'm going to be nice to you. So, because I want you to engage me. You and your friend Noah, through your quoting of church fathers, believe that you found a lot of church father quotes against icons. And you believe that will falsify the Orthodox position. Yes or no?
Perhaps that's not the point. The point of the debate isn't to disprove orthodoxy, or else that would just be the premise of the debate. The premise of the debate is to disprove the idea that Second Nicaea is dogmatizing something that was always taught from the beginning of the church. And so whether or not that disproves orthodoxy has nothing to do with the debate.
Well, that's not what you wrote in your. First of all, that's
Where?
not what you wrote in your thing that you wrote to me.
Where?
You did not. You did not. Well, you didn't. You didn't say anything about Second Nicaea. You said
Well, it's
about
implicit.
your debate. Literally, just said.
Well, yeah, it says the topic is icon veneration is a post-apostolic development.
Yeah, you didn't. You didn't. First of all, you didn't mention Second Nicaea.
Well, I
Two.
can't.
The point.
What?
The point is that.
Paragraph?
The point is that your argument. Let me steelman you again. Is that your argument is that Second Nicaea dogmatized something that's not always taught. Is that fair?
Kind of. That
Okay.
it's not only does it dogmatize something that's not always taught, it dogmatizes something that the earliest fathers would have been, like, hypothetically, if the earliest fathers were alive during that time of the Seventh Ecumenical Council, they would have been condemned as heretics.
Okay. According to your interpretation of what those fathers said.
Well, if you just like appeal to, you're according to your interpretation, then there would be no point in debating anything or talking about anything.
Exactly. That's my point. It's your interpretation versus mine when you're quoting
Well,
mine.
right. Well, then you just put yourself in a stupid position where you can never debate anything.
That's why. No, I'm not putting myself in the position. I'm here setting that premise with you, so we don't talk past each other if this debate happens. That's why.
Yeah.
Or else I wouldn't talk to you. There's no point of talking to you.
Right.
So, again, your position is that Second Nicaea dogmatized something that was not majority taught in, let's say, the first century.
Sure.
So, therefore, we had a false ecumenical council and orthodoxy is false.
Well, those are implicit, but those aren't ever going to be state. I don't. Well, actually, I'm not the one going to be debating you, right? But I don't think he's ever going to state orthodoxy is falsified if I win the debate.
Well, it is falsified if we had a faulty council, ecumenical council. So that's the whole
Yeah.
goal, because you're attacking
sure.
another person's position. When you're debating, you're trying to prove that the other guy's position is false. So
Yeah.